fight the Obama Catholic vote up for grabs in the next couple of election cycles?
Formation. I mean, the Catholic community is, unfortunately, the problems that you see in the church extend to the fact that the church is not teaching the people in the church what the truth is. As a result, you have even, you quote, faithful Catholics who are going to church and not hearing what the church's teachings are on a variety of issues. And I think that's one of the concerns. I mean, we talk about the problems within the Catholic Church. Well, that's one of the problems. You don't hear the media talk about it because they don't agree with the teachings of the church, but it is a serious problem of dissent, and the media likes to hype the dissent and encourage the dissent. And unfortunately, in America, they've been very successful in getting a lot of churches and dioceses and priests to not go out and preach the gospel, and that's one of the reasons in those communities that the church is dying. The places where they do preach the gospel, the church is thriving, and as it will be, as we've seen all over the world, where they go out and teach the truth, people respond. When they go out and give some watered-down version, they don't.
Senator, along those same lines, the Pope, in his mass to the cardinals, said that we have to do everything in Christ, otherwise we're just a philanthropic NGO. Does that suggest that Pope Francis is going to be able to solve the problem that you just talked about Catholics poorly catechized in their own faith?
I am so excited about this Pope because he's a man who has the heart of the people and understands that to help the poor, as Mother Teresa referred to them as the poorest of the poor. You can't just feed them. You have to nurture them. You have to, as I talked about today, provide a why, provide a hope, provide that hole that's missing in their heart, in their souls. And Francis I understands that. He understands the mission of the church. Is not to go out and save lives, it's first and foremost to save souls. And of course we want to save lives too, we want to help people, we want to provide for the material benefit, but that is not the primary goal of the church. There are other organizations that can do that, and by the way, the church should be part of that. The church should have organizations, and just as importantly, people within the church should take that as a responsibility, and I think that's one of the things I'm excited about, because I think he will, in a sense, tie that responsibility that we have, that Jesus taught us, to our role as Catholics, that we personally have an obligation to help those who are less fortunate, that that's part of our holiness, that it isn't just something that we should do because it's a nice thing to do, but it's part of who we are. But we do it not because some sociological or humanitarian obligation. We do it because that is what our faith calls us to do, and we do it as part of our holiness.
Thank you.
Yesterday in your speech, you emphasized the stuff that the Democrat Party has given. Can you give us the backstory behind that and why you did such emphasize it?
Well, I mean, my concern is that we have a lot of folks here who are saying that the Republican Party needs to abandon the basic moral foundations of the party. That we need to stay away from controversial moral issues, and that we can't speak either on those particular moral issues or even on the moral aspects of government itself, and caring for the poor, for example. And that we need to just stay away from all that. We need to abandon those things and just focus on economics. I find that really remarkable, and because a lot of those same folks say, well, we have to reach out to Hispanics, who by and large agree more with the moral issues than the general American public. So we'd be walking away from issues that the Hispanic community actually agrees with us on. And a way to appeal to them, we would be abandoning that. So it's sort of funny that they don't put two and two together on that front. But we need to understand that the other side has an economic message. We're not out there on our own. And their economic message promises stuff too. And that you'll have economic benefits and you'll be taken care of and we'll provide you security. They talk more in terms of security and we're talking more in terms of opportunities, but when you're poor, security is the first element. Opportunity is the next element. And secondly, their economic platform is, don't worry about this, we'll give it to you. We'll give you stuff. We'll take care of you. We'll say, hey, we're going to give you the opportunity to go out and do it yourself. I think that's a better way of doing it. But if you're someone who's hurting, someone that needs that next meal, someone who's doesn't have a roof over their head or worried about the roof over their head going away, they're going to be able to pledge more stuff than we will. Not that they'll deliver it. Someone else, you already asked the question, so someone else can.
Well, you know, one of the things you were talking about was getting back to the roots of morality and whatnot. And the old media is lambasting the Catholic Church for, you know, for not reforming.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I don't want this to be a big, you know, Rick Santorum running for bishop or anything. I think I've been pretty clear on you know, how I feel about the church. So
that's not the question.
That's not the question. So, of course, the media, the church is in the way. Not just the Catholic Church, but any of the Orthodox Church. I mean, they're in the way. They stand for things that the media doesn't agree with. And so, of course, they're going to sensationalize any problems associated with that organization and minimalize problems within their own backyard. I mean, you look at, I mean, I'm sure if you look at colleges and universities, professors, and find out what the rate of scandal is among those folks and compare it to Catholic priests would probably stack up pretty favorably. But no one's going to talk about that. And no one's going to talk about folks on the other side because, you know what, they don't go out and profess not to do that. That's one of the things that I always told conservatives. I said, you know, you're going to be held, when new people came into Congress, you're going to be held to a different standard if you're someone who stands for moral truth. Because if you don't stand for moral truth, they're going to let you get away with everything because, well, you don't stand for it. So you can do whatever you want. But if you do, then they're going to hoist you and, you know, and on your petard. And that's just the reality of taking those positions. And so I'm not surprised the media is going to focus, as Chris Morgan tried to do with me the other night on his show. They're going to focus on trying to convince that the church is making some sort of change because they just have to, because they have to bend to the culture. This culture is going to change. It's going to change in the next 20 years, 30 years. The church isn't going to change. I mean, the church has been around for 2,000 years. And some of the worst popes, some of the most popes who were horrible human beings, the Borgia popes, I mean, they didn't change the teachings of the church. They did a lot of bad things, but they left the teachings of the church alone. Why? Because they can't change, because they're the truth.
All right, another big thank you for Rick for showing up.